you done to me?
Have you
I'm
started?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was like, she's just going to sing and we're not going to start the podcast. Okay. Hello, everybody. What's up? What's up? It's your Blerd girls, Triple F Queen Bola.
No tagline wit.
And we have a special guest today, our friend. Go introduce yourself.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Matt.
Yay, Maddie.
Welcome, Maddie. First
Thank you,
time on the
Maddie.
pod.
So our friend Matt is with us today, and y'all, we are getting artsy, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Artsy. And I was telling Matt earlier today, because we're all three of us are VCU alums, and we were saying that
Go Rams.
Yes, go Rams indeed. If you're like a VCU student, it's like most likely you're definitely an art enthusiast or like a medicine head or something. Because those are like the main two things. I mean, you had a bunch of majors, but like a lot of VCU students, even if they weren't in the arts fields, they were art enthusiasts because it was like everything. And so Matt is our resident art head, and he is the one that takes us around to the VMFA all the time and lets us know when the new exhibits come.
Yep.
And today we're talking about an art movie and my absolute favorite painter, whom I love very, very much, Vincent van Gogh, or Van Gogh, as you all know. So I'm very excited for today's episode, and I'm glad that Maddie's here to join with us.
I just wanted to comment on how it's funny how we as Americans are just like, we don't care how it's actually pronounced. We're going to pronounce it our way.
I know, right? It's like the correct manner. In fact, we learned from going to the Van Gogh experience that Van Gogh himself, Van Gogh, he preferred everyone call him Vincent because everyone kept murdering his name because he's really Dutch, and you know the Parisians are like, I don't know how to do that thing. You'd be surprised with the way their language sounds, but they would never say Van Gogh. They would just be like Van Gogh or whatever. So he actually preferred everyone just call him Vincent. Which is why we are reviewing the movie today called Loving Vincent.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, but before we do that, Matt, do you want to say anything about your art or anything? Your love of art or where it came from? Tell us about it.
Oh, well,
Tell me something good.
I can't even.
I honestly don't know. Like, I remember when I was a kid, there was these. Do you remember the encyclopedias on CD-ROMs?
I think I know what you're
We
talking about.
had physical ones at my house. I don't think we ever had digital ones.
Like back in the day, like not the olden days, like, but I mean back in the day,
90s, right?
Yeah, definitely 90s. They had encyclopedias that were on CD-ROM.
Okay.
And there was this one, and it had all kinds of art on it, and I just started looking at the pictures, and I was like, wow, it was really like I was a kid at the time.
Something was like birthed inside of you.
Exactly. I love
There's
that. I
something
love
here
that.
that wasn't there before.
And I love
Whitney
that
is
too.
apparently going to talk and song the whole episode. I see that now. But yeah, I was telling them earlier because we had a little watch party watching the film again.
Or for the first time, in my case.
Yes, Whitney watched it for the first time, but me and Matt had because we both love Van Gogh, and so
And they
Van
both
Gogh,
own it.
Yes, we do, and he knows that's my favorite. So we watched it earlier when it like first came out at the Historical Bird Theater here in RVA, Richmond. Hey. And I remember taking my little cousins with me too, and we like all were amazed by this film. But I was telling them earlier that I don't know what it was about Van Gogh's art that struck me so much, but I had first got introduced to his art through the show Boy Meets World. It was an episode where Sean and Angela were dating, and they were just like, trying new things. Just like it was an episode about their relationship, and it had culminated in the art museum. And so he was like able to share his feelings and talk about things. And it was like the last painting that they like glued on was Van Gogh's Starry Night, and it was just like, as soon as I watched it, it was such a touching scene. But as soon as I saw it on screen, I was like, what is that? And I loved it. And I was like, I just remember like being fixated on that painting. And it has now been my favorite painting. I know it's like cliche, but I really absolutely love Van Gogh's Starry Night. I would get it in everything, but it would be overkill. And I love color too. It's also very vibrant, very colorful.
Yeah.
And I'm a very vibrant, colorful person. And I always loved art and stuff too. Like I loved any kind of artistry, not just the visual, but the auditory. painting, singing, all that kind of stuff. So I loved the arts. But that was my first introduction to Starry Night. But Whitney, as someone who actually was in the art school here, what would you say about it? I know maybe is Van Gogh like one you liked or not? Let's tell us what you think.
I like his work a lot. I love, just like you, I love the color. Like, it's pretty amazing. And I love, is Van Gogh an impressionist?
Right?
I want to say yes. They did say that he was the father of modern art. So yeah, but I want to say yes.
Okay.
He was also an impressionist.
But I don't know that, because I can't say that I necessarily am like, oh, I'm a fan of the impressionist movement, but I like his work.
By the way, Wikipedia says he was definitely an
impressionist painter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I can't say that necessarily like that's like my favorite like art movement, but I do love his paintings, and I love the kind of impressionist, like the strokes.
Yes. The strokes are very unique. Yes,
they are, and it's like it's very impactful. For some reason, it's just, I don't know, like...
Provide some texture, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
something
very
about
textured.
The strokes being visible in his work. Like, it's like layers. It's like not just a plain scenery. It's like layers to that tree or that skyline or
and
something.
I love the way he did light. And maybe it's just cool. Maybe it's just because of someone with an astigmatism that, like, I see the lights with, like, the little bands coming out, and my mom always was bothered by it, but I was like, I like them. I think it's cool. And then seeing it like painted with like the rays, I was like, oh, that's sometimes how I see. Well, mine are more like spikes coming out rather than like but I sometimes see like a blurry halo, not like the concentric circles he did, but I love it. I just think it's so cool looking, like his style, and I just like you, like especially like Starry Night is probably one of my favorites. I really like the way he did like light.
Yeah, the lights were like the main. I think that's what attracted me. I just thought it was so beautiful. I like that it made the stars like so heavenly, bodily close.
Yeah,
it was like larger than life. It was just so interesting to me. Even though like at certain lookings, it's like the little tree thing kind of looks kind of eerie. But in other renditions, when it moves and stuff, it looks sort of like, oh, it's windswept. I don't know, something about it's different every time I look at one or the other. I just see something different. But it's just my absolute favorite because of the lights. Yeah, I think I love the bursts of yellow against that blue. It's just magnificent.
It is. That contrast really does something. It's lovely.
Do you have a favorite Van Gogh, Maddie?
Oh, that's really hard because I do like Starry Night. Going back to talking about that painting, just looking at it is just so surreal. It looks familiar, but the way he painted it is just almost out of this world. Almost,
yeah, it's very unique.
It's interesting you said surreal, because I think that's actually like my favorite style, or like the surrealist.
Yeah,
because I just love I love that. Yeah.
So, y'all, we're going to get into the film. And so just a quick few things before, but we're going to, this film that was made was called Loving Vincent. It was actually like the only film made entirely of painted shots, scenes. What is the best word you think, Whitney? Am I saying it right?
Hand painted, but it's interesting to me. Not only is it painted, because Disney painters, like, they painted the background and stuff, but it's like oil painting.
Oil painted, yes.
And oil, I've never worked in oil. Like, when I would paint stuff, I always used acrylic. Acrylic dries pretty fast. Like, oil lasts for what I understand, like days, weeks, maybe months, so you can still work with it. So the fact that it was like oil painting, not just painting, but like oil painting, is just like, wow.
It's beautiful. And so I had just never seen a film like this before. And the fact that they actually hand painted, they've done it in his style. So I thought they were paying homage to him, but I've never seen a whole film that was every frame is painted or something like that. Like, it's amazing. We're going to put in the show notes for you guys so you could see how this film was made, because I'm flabbergasted. I think in the video it said like 66,000 paintings were made for this. Some were in black and white to get the flashbacks of his life, but then most of them were actual scenes from his many, like 800 paintings that he had made over his life.
And that's just crazy in and of itself. Like 800 paintings. That is some...
And I didn't know he was so prolific. I did not know until I watched the film back in... Do you remember when we watched the film?
Oh, gosh.
It was pre-pandemic. And I can't remember nothing before the pandemic. I don't know what it is, y'all. Damn you, COVID.
I know. Rona had to ruin everything.
Yes. I feel like it was 2019, 18... I'll have to look it up. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. But,
BC and, well, actually, it would be like AC now, have a different meaning. Before COVID. And
I know,
after COVID.
right?
Yeah, I know.
Before COVID, after COVID. Yeah. Oh, so we're going to get more into that later, but we have our main segment that we always have. You know, we got to what? Blerd out. Blerd out. Blerd out. Blerd out. All right, so here's our little segment where we get to talk about some things where, you know, we are just enjoying stuff, living life, experiencing things, or watching new things, anything. And we're going to start with our guests because we are hospitable peeps, right?
That's
we
right.
Blerds that are hospitable. All right, Maddie, what you blerding out about?
I think I would like to blerd out my trip to Chincoteague that I took this
a trip.
past.
Tell us about it.
Well, just
That's the
recently,
place with the horses, right?
Yeah,
The wild horses.
Chincoteague and Assateague is known for the
wild horses.
Wild horses.
Wild horses.
Yep.
Can't be tamed. My bad. Go ahead.
You're fine. You know, just recently I've been going through some personal things, and I just needed a solo trip just to mentally charge my batteries, mentally unwind.
Hashtag self-care, okay?
Yes, exactly. And I'm glad that I did because Chincoteague is one of those places where, you know, you can walk the streets and you don't have to feel like you have to have your guard up. Like you can actually put your guard down just a little bit. And
That's something for these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
You gotta be guarded up everywhere now. I'm not gonna talk about the news right now, but go ahead. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're fine. And it's also nice because, of course, some of us, you know, are like night owls. It's nice because things close pretty early, fairly decent early. But again, just walking through the streets, it almost has a rustic Americana kind of feel. So you're kind of walking back in time, walking past these old buildings, and but yeah, I'm glad I did because just walking the streets, not having to keep my guard up, and the Assateague part of Chincoteague is very like natural, like it's a park. So I was able to get some nature, one with nature, and it was funny because I wasn't planning on seeing the horses because I've seen the horses before. This was my third time going to Chincoteague, and surprisingly, I got a chance to see them. Because the weekend that I went was after Hurricane Ian hit. And thankfully they weren't impacted as much with the hurricane, but because of the water level, the horses had to come closer inland. And it was a nice surprise just to see the horses.
Wow.
And it was like, oh, I wasn't planning on seeing them since I've already...
How close were you? Were they like distance-wise? Or
I
like
would
meters away?
Well, I mean, let's just say that they weren't like super.
Could they run up
close.
on you? That's what I mean.
No, they weren't. They weren't.
I'd be scared.
No. They weren't so close to me. I mean, they were far away enough that you can actually see like the details on like their faces. You can see the detail of their fur.
Wow.
And it was.
Can I just say this? Horses are big. Like
Yeah,
if
they
you ever
are.
stand next to one, I'm like, oh God, when I saw the policeman in Baltimore. When the horse policeman, well, the policemen that are on horseback, excuse me, I remember standing next to them, and I felt like threatened because I was like, this animal is so big. Sorry, but I'm just like, horses are big. When
Yeah,
they
are. They are.
I don't know how anybody
That's
does it.
so cool though, Matt, because
it
I
was-
went to Chincoteague once, like, I think it was actually 2020. Because we had to go somewhere that was, in state because, no traveling and stuff.
Yeah.
But we went on like a boat and stuff, and we saw the horses, but they look like dots to me.
Oh, jeez.
Couldn't tell except for the person saying that those were horses, but they were just like dots.
Oh, you must have been on a wrong boat cruise, because the one boat cruise that we were on, I mean, we were pretty close to the horses. Like at the time, I had an attachment on my phone where I can actually zoom in closer. It was like a telescope attachment. But I mean, you must have been on a really bad boat cruise, because the one that we were on, we were closer. It was like, they're the horses, and they're actual horses, and you can actually see like the baby horses, rolling on the ground playing.
We could have been on a bad one. It could have also just been circumstances, because they weren't close into the water. They were like further back, and you can't really control it. And they're like, yeah, that's protected thing, so you can't like go get closer to see them. So it was just like one of those things.
So it sounds like, both of you been?
I highly recommend. Again, Chincoteague is one of those places. Again, you don't have to have your guard up. You can actually put your guard down.
You can relax.
Exactly.
I did get that feeling when we went. We ate there because we didn't stay in Chincoteague. We stayed. I don't know, what is that, like not Newport News, like Norfolk or Hampton or something.
Okay.
And we drove over to Chincoteague with the purpose of seeing like the horses and stuff. But we ate over there, and I got that feeling, like you said, like it was very like old school, where you're like, you might not need to lock your doors, but it's like, I don't always lock my doors, but it's like one of those places where it feels like, oh, you probably might not need to here.
Do you remember the name of the restaurant?
I actually cannot. We ate, it was a seafood restaurant. And then we went for like, I feel like there was like an ice cream place like 2 buildings down.
Okay. I'm wondering if you ate at AJ's on the Creek, because that's a good restaurant to go to.
Oh, Matt is also a foodie, y'all.
Yes.
Our foodie buddy.
Yes.
Him and I go ham. We will pay for some extra dinners. We do love the food. So if you got a good suggestion, I know it's good.
Oh, yes. AJ's on the Creek is good. And there's also a restaurant named Bill's. It's a steakhouse and a seafood restaurant. So, but almost all the restaurants in Chincoteague are fantastic. So
nice.
Okay. What do you think before we move on, what do you think the horses do in the wintertime? Like, because it's cold right now. What do you think that just came to my mind. Like, what do you think they're doing? Like, are they huddling up in the woods somewhere?
Probably. I mean, I don't think horses like hibernate, but they do.
Because they're like, we always assume with horses there's always like a farm, a barn, But I'm like, with wild horses, like, what do they do? You know what I mean?
They probably do huddle. Like they kind of like huddle together. They probably
imagine being in the water. It's even colder.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Anyway. It's cool, awesome. Chincoteague, y'all, checks it out. I might think about going there. I have a friend who loves animals and she needs to relax, so I might have to be like, Christmas gift.
Well, I'm actually going back there for my birthday, so
Nice.
Well, that's in the spring, so I'll talk to her about it. Be like, hey, let's go to Chincoteague. I've heard from a friend; it's awesome. All right, Whitney, what about you? What you blurting out about?
Let's see. I am blurting out about like so there's a couple things, and this is actually one that Bola has talked about before, and because she mentioned it, I actually started watching it. I started watching Manifest.
Oh, yay!
So I finished the first season. I'm on season 2, beginnings of season 2, because I'm hopping around between a few shows right now, but it's very good so far. I'm really loving it.
Hey, I'm excited.
Yes!
It's a good show.
It really is very good.
I like it because it like talks about the supernatural, and the divine, and all these different things. Someone who believes in like having visions, dreams, all that kind of stuff. I just think it's interesting what they do, and I like that they put a show where they really address those things. I've never seen anything like this, where they treat it with care, not as just something paranormal or spooky, but it's like. It's done in a very interesting way where you can't explain certain phenomenons and stuff. And, people are like, well, what is this? I mean, yes, it's fiction, but there's like, they just bring all these different elements into it. And I really enjoy that show. Anyway, go ahead, Whitney. I'm sorry. I kind of took over your.
No, you're good because you watched it more. But like, I watched it because you were talking about how much you liked it.
It's good. That's why I'm glad they got saved from NBC canceling. I hate when they cancel good shows, and you're like, "What are you talking about?" There's fandoms for this. The show got saved by the fans and Netflix. Thank you, Daddy Netflix, for saving it at the last minute. I call it that because sometimes Netflix comes in and saves the day for certain shows. And that doesn't happen all the time because they really do want to think about where do they put their money. Mm-hmm. And to just like a network show that had nothing to do with Netflix. This was an NBC show, and then NBC don't really care about nobody's feelings or anybody's fan. They don't. They just be like, well, the ratings are not enough for us. We don't care that you have a beloved show. You're gone. You know, and I'm like, screw you, NBC. Anyway, so I'm glad you liking the show. I'm glad.
Yeah, I am. But I've checked out a new show that I think it premiered just this week. So any of y'all who were like fans of the Addams Family and the Addams Family values. I know, right?
That was my favorite part.
So they Netflix is doing it. Came out with a show called Wednesday, which is about Wednesday Addams, and it's like a crime series. So she's like solving like mysteries. So maybe mystery.
Like a gothy emo sleuth. Is that it?
Kind of, yeah.
Interesting. I did not think it was
and
gonna
she's
go
at
that
this
route.
like supernatural school called Nevermore Academy, where I like it because it's interesting to me. It's almost explaining parts of the Addams Family that didn't kind of get explained by the movies, which, you know, they don't always have to explain stuff in movies, but I appreciate kind of like the background on it. Because she goes to this place called Nevermore Academy, and all of these people called like outcasts. So they've got like werewolves, vampires, witches. Wednesday has some type of like precog that happens to her when she touches some things. But it's interesting to me because, you know, the Addams Family, when you would watch the movies and stuff, it seemed like this odd family, and like the rest of the world seemed to be like the same. So like, I like the fact that in Wednesday, it's like, okay, so this is kind of like a different world where all of this stuff is real and people know about it, but, you know, people aren't always kind.
Have any of you ever seen the TV Land version from back in the day, like the
I
black
haven't.
and white Addams Family? Like, that's what I remember watching first. I used to watch those old black and white ones.
I've never watched that one.
They got into color later on, I think, but they were old school ones. And I used to watch TV Nick at Night all the time because I was like, stayed up late. My mom worked late, so we were always by ourselves, and we'd be like, what happens after Nickelodeon goes off? And so that's why I've watched a crap load of old TV from like the 60s and the 70s and maybe 50s even, because they were in black and white. Dick Van Dyke, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, all those shows. And then the Addams Family was one that I loved. It was amazing. I loved them. They were really fun. And then when I came into the 90s and you had the Christina Ricci one. Yeah. And that was my favorite. I love her.
And she's a guest star on there. She's a teacher.
That's
so
awesome.
it was like an awesome thing for those
Like
of us who watch like
nod
the
to her. That's cute.
It's Christina Ricci. She's in
All
there.
right. I might check it out now that you said it.
Yeah,
because
it's really good. It's got like the whole sleuth thing going on, but it's also got like the supernatural thing. It's just, I really like it a lot. I think it's a really fun show and really good.
Okay.
So
good.
I
'Cause
do
was
recommend
like,
it.
Sometimes I'm like, I was saying this, I don't really like when they remake old stuff. I just make something new, dang it. Stop retouching the old stuff. And because sometimes it just comes out either it's all too dark, especially when they're lighthearted stuff. You get like something like Riverdale that everybody loves, but I hate because I loved. Or you get something like Sabrina, which I don't like because I love the lightheartedness of the ones that originally came out. And then they just make it all weird. And you're just like, I don't like this. And you just like, leave the other one alone. But when they do something interesting and it's good, I might check it out just to see. Because I love the Addams Family before. That's why I was like, don't touch it. Don't touch it. I'm not going to watch.
They've
But
done
I might check it
something
out.
different, but different in a good way. Because that's like the thing. Like, I don't mind remakes as long as you have like a clear vision, like something unique, like not just a money grab.
Okay.
Not like, let me prey on these people's nostalgia.
Yep,
Like,
that's what I feel like everyone's doing now, preying on everyone's nostalgia.
and
I'm
those
just
are like
please.
usually end up pretty sucky. But when there are people who have like a legitimate, like they're like, I've got a really good idea. I think this would be good. Like, I think those like can a lot of times be really good, like really great reimaginings or like continuations of the story. But when it's just like, let's just do a money grab, then those usually pretty universally suck.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. I got one more before we.
That was very good.
That was
I love his
amazing.
baritone. Get it, Maddie.
Yeah. Love it. But I got one more, and that was the fact that my mom's a Broadway and Richmond subscriber, as I've probably mentioned a million
Matt
times.
is too, right?
Yeah. Oh, what day are you?
I'm sorry?
Are you subscribed this season?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
But I do get stuff in the mail.
Okay.
And also I get those promo emails.
Okay, got you. But me and my mom saw on Black Friday Pretty Woman, which is a Broadway. They did a Broadway of Pretty Woman, which I was not at all that excited. I mean, I wasn't like, but I wasn't excited about it really at all. It was just one of those things where it's like, okay, it's on the subscription. It's one of the.
It is, right? And you're like, why make a Broadway of it? But
yeah, and I couldn't imagine. I'm like, is this gonna be good? Like a Broadway of Pretty Woman? So I didn't have any expectations, at least not positive necessarily. But I went, and it was awesome, you guys. I absolutely loved it. The music, oh man, the singing was so good. It had, what's his name? Adam. He was Roger from Rent, like the original Broadway Rent, as well as in the movie he reprised his role. Do you know?
No, I don't know what his name is. I just know who you're talking about. Because he also was in the, in Hawkeye,
He was?
Hawkeye, they did like a version, they did like Avengers musical in the show for the show. And so he was in there singing. And I was like, that's the guy from Rent.
Adam Pascal. That's who it is.
Yeah, that's his name.
Adam Pascal. So he was.
Now you say it, I remember.
So he was Roger from Rent. So like the rock dude who played the guitar from Rent. That's who he is.
Great voice.
He does. He's got a very rock voice. And I was telling my mom,
voice.
yes. I was trying to tell my mom that during the intermission. I was like, he's got very much like a rock vocal. And she didn't know what I was talking about at first. And then like partway through like the second.
Though.
She actually does.
She does?
Mm-hmm. She likes a lot of different stuff.
Okay. I didn't put that.
She's kind of mainly like an R&B type of listener, but she likes a lot of different stuff.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. But
so
like
the play was good?
It was
musical?
Awesome. It was awesome.
Wow.
But she finally, like, when she was listening to one of the songs he was singing, she leaned over to me and she's like, oh, okay, I hear what you're saying. Because I'm like, I know I'm not crazy. I don't know like the right word to say it, but he's definitely got a very rock vocal. When he sings, it's got like, I don't know if it's rasp or something, but there's something that, it's like, that's a rock vocal right there.
Yeah. Something about like the timbre of his voice. Like, it like reverberates and it's kind of like has a grit to it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, he can be like, ow, something, as opposed to just, oh,
Exactly. But like, I saw it and it was awesome. I highly recommend, if you get a chance, definitely see it, because you guys, this was so surprisingly good. And like, not just because it was a surprise, but just overall, it was just really good. It was my favorite of the season thus far, though I think this is probably only 2 seasons of the year, maybe, because I know that partway through the year, the new season starts, but it was awesome. So if you get a chance, listeners, oh wait, this won't come. Okay, it'll be gone by the time you guys.
Oh, dang.
I love the automatic correction.
By the time this comes out, you guys,
if it comes to your city, if you're listening
yes,
from somewhere
if you
that's
can,
not Richmond, Virginia,
if you have a chance to see it touring somewhere, and can definitely see it with Adam Pascal, which I thought was pretty cool, because I was like, oh, big girls, like, I love Fred, he was amazing, this is awesome. But yeah, this is the first time where I've seen someone like famous actually like in something that came there.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yes, that was my blurt out, you guys.
Nice.
Right. So I'm going to circle back. I only have one thing. I'm going to circle back to our discussion about nostalgia, and I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of going to like go in the contrast of what I was saying about remakes, because I had spent yesterday, Black Friday, I guess you want to call it Black Friday, not going nowhere. I never have anything, guys, this is right after Thanksgiving, but I never like I don't know why I never go out or buying or anything. I never experienced the Black
that's
Friday.
like taking your life into your hands. I never. The only time I have ever been out on a Black Friday was when the Wii came out, and I was trying to get that.
I remember that. I remember.
And my mom came with me because she was not about to let me go out.
Like, you're not gonna die in a stampede.
Exactly,
okay?
exactly. And it actually was okay because I went to like 3 different GameStops, and the first 2 they weren't getting any in, and I ended up going to the one that's on campus. The one, that's near the Kroger. Yeah. And because it's usually serving students, there weren't that many people in line. I was like the 3rd person in line, and they had 5. Wow. So I got my Wii there awesome. On Black Friday. That is the one and only time I've ever gone out shopping for that type of stuff on Black Friday, because I don't like crowds like that. Yeah. And people be looking too crazy about this stuff.
What about you? Have you ever gone shopping during Black Friday?
What was that?
Have you ever gone shopping during Black Friday?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You went this week, right?
Yeah, I went. I did go yesterday. Normally what my mom and sisters do, we do look at the circulars, we do look at the ads. We didn't really find a whole lot of good stuff. And it could be because of the inflation, or it could be because
prices are high.
Of the pandemic. So
inventory could be low.
Exactly.
Low inventory, high prices, so probably not as many deals or percentages off. So, yeah. But
I do remember the one time, and I think this was at Kohl's, but the lines were as long as the store. Like, the lines would be like go in the back of the store, and I mean that was Black Friday. That was Black Friday for me. Like, the lines, and knock on wood, but I haven't seen like stampedes or people like
okay, good.
Like thank goodness, because
I think that's because of I think that's because there's like Cyber Monday, and there's a lot of online shopping.
Exactly,
now.
exactly.
But me, I always remember Black Friday. I would love to do that. And I've never experienced that because I've never had money during that time. Like, I always never get Black Friday deals. I'm always like, maybe Cyber Monday, I'll catch it. But I would never be, I was like, I don't know why. It's like clockwork. Like, oh, I'm broke, or I've spent money on other things, or I don't have time. And the only thing I'd like to do is, like, if I want electronics, I want to catch them at a good time, because that's like the best time to buy TVs and stuff.
Right.
Because my sister really is on that electronic grind, and she always finds good deals. But this year I was like, again, so what I was doing, I was at home enjoying all the food that I cooked very well. I enjoyed the food the next day more so than on Thanksgiving Day. I ate only one plate.
Flavors have time to permeate even more.
Right, and I only ate one plate, and then I didn't really eat much, and then I was like eating all day on Friday. I was just like, I'm gonna have a little more of this, a little more of that, and I was just like only one up. My mom and my sister were sleeping, and I was like, finally, I get the TV to myself, and I really want to watch the second. I don't know if you guys know this, but the sequel to Enchanted came out. Disenchanted, right? Yeah. And I've been wanting to watch it forever. But I decided that I wanted to, while we were doing preparation for Thanksgiving on Thursday, my nieces were over. They always come and stay with us and help us a little bit. But they were watching Enchanted 1. And I was like, you know what? I did not even realize that movie came out in 2007.
Wait, what?
Whoa.
I didn't realize it was that long ago.
Whoa. You're talking about a good 15 years.
Wow.
I was like, dude. And then if you see them right after each other, where I did, the juxtaposition of her age then and her now, you're just like, damn, this film was a long time ago. And I was like, whoa. But I decided to watch the first one and then watch the second one, because I didn't get time to look at it with them, because we had to stop everything. And I was like, I think I need to remember the story. So I watched the first one, and I was just like, man, this is a good movie.
Yeah.
I was like in it with Enchanted. I was like, oh my God, the music in this was awesome. How do you know that you love her? I was just like, oh my God, this is like a real musical. I don't know why it didn't occur to me that Enchanted was a musical.
Was it Menken? Alan Menken?
I don't know. I don't remember who did the music.
Okay.
But I saw the names, but I don't remember the names. But I just was like in awe of it. And when I watched it, I was like, man, that was a good movie. And then I was like, okay, we're going to try Disenchanted now. And I have to say, equally as good film.
What?
I would literally put them, because you're scared of the remakes and the sequels, especially the ones like I was having flashbacks to Hocus Pocus.
Oh God,
which was terrible. Hocus Pocus 2 was terrible. It's just trash. So I was just like, don't touch the film that I loved back then. Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
leave Britney alone.
Yes, leave Britney alone. That's amazing. I love it. Yes, I was like, leave Enchanted alone. Leave Giselle alone. Okay, but I have to disagree. One, this film had all the original actors come back. Idina Menzel is even more famous after Frozen. So she sang this awesome, beautiful ballad song, Power of Love, in her little Frozen.
By the way, Enchanted was Alan Menken's score.
Oh, great. Thank you. But this Enchanted, it took the story and put it on its head and flipped it in a wonderful way that was unique, interesting.
Put my thing down, flip it in reverse, it.
Yes, exactly. And it was just awesome. It had beautiful songs, and then you had Maya Rudolph. So you had like kind of two people being the bad queen or the wicked witch or the wicked stepmother, because in the film, I'm not going to tell all of it so that you guys can watch it.
Yeah, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
I'm not, but in the film, in the trailers, it shows you that Giselle kind of like, because of something that happens in the film, Giselle kind of like turns into the wicked stepmother a little bit. So then you have her and Maya Rudolph like battling to be the wicked queen of the whole area. So they do this awesome like number where they're like, I'm better than you. It was amazing. And it was such an interesting tale. You guys really have to see it. The little girl Morgan grows up. And it was awesome. And I loved it. I was like enthralled. And I forgot I love fantasy fairy tale films. And this one had all the tropes in it. And it was awesome. And it was, I swear, they were literally on par with each other. Beautiful music, too. Like, new music. Awesome scenes. I just love how they flipped the movie on its head, and it was so different. And I definitely
Alan
encourage guys
Menken
to
again,
watch
you
it.
guys. I just looked it up for Disenchanted.
It was Disenchanted. No wonder, because, y'all, it was so good. I watched both back-to-back, and I was like, I love this. I really want to watch it with my nieces or, like, show them or, like, watch it again, because it was really good. So I was just blurring out about that and how happy I was with the product and how everybody came back. Patrick Dempsey, James Marsden, Idina Menzel, and of course Amy Adams. And then there was the new kids for the new generation and the new cast. Actually, the lady from Glee, the redhead lady from Glee, who was married to Mr. Schuster.
Oh,
she was in it as well. She's blonde in it. And then that one black lady from Community, who's like in everybody's film, she was in it as well.
I've never watched that show, but I know.
I swear, if I showed you her picture, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that black lady," because she's like in everybody's film. Anyway, but it was a wonderful watch. I'd say watch them both back to back, and you would really enjoy those few hours. Like you wouldn't even. It's just an awesome magical experience. I love fantasy fairy tale films. It's amazing. So that's my blurred out. Watch not Ella Enchanted. Damn. Watch Enchanted and then watch Disenchanted. There you go.
All right. Ooh, I forgot
Enchanted
one other
2.
blurred out thing, you guys. I like when this came out, and it's been years. It took them years to do like a follow up, though. I think I might have gotten when it actually originally came out mixed up, which with the pandemic things were going to take longer. But Warrior Nun, I watched that show. It's a Netflix show.
Are you talking about a fighting nun?
Yep. After waking up in a morgue, an orphan teen discovers she now possesses supernatural superpowers as the chosen halo bearer for a secret sect of demon hunting nuns.
Oh, wow.
So I watched this first season when it came out, and apparently it came out in 2020. And the second season just came out like maybe a couple weeks ago. So I watched the second season with my mom. No, it's live action.
Oh, wow. It sounds like an anime. Like, it really does. Warrior Nun. You're just like, okay.
But I really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping it gets a third season because the ending of the second season definitely needs another season. So right now IMDb has got the 2022 dash and nothing behind it, so that means it's not canceled. But
Let's hope.
Sometimes Netflix be taking a while to let you know another season is coming, because like they made me wait for a long time for Sandman, because I'm like, come on y'all.
It takes them a while. They gotta film stuff, so even
I
now.
mean, but at least announcing like another season is coming, because that's what I'm talking about, because I know it'll take a while to make it, but I just want you to let me know that it's coming.
So was Sandman a live action? I
It
thought
is.
Oh, okay.
Because they took the graphic novel by what's his name?
Neil Gaiman.
Thank you, Bola. And they made it into a series, and it's great. You should check it out. It is great. Have you watched it, Bola?
No, not yet.
Oh, that's another one you guys should watch. That's a great series. It is awesome. And the character development on the main character, Dream, it's a really great character arc.
Awesome. So y'all gonna have a lot of stuff to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Learn not about. But let us get to our main thing in hand. We're talking about Van Gogh. Get our artsy brains on. Get the snaps on. Get your little French berets on. Raspberry beret. Anyway. My bad. I just realized that was crazy.
If it was cold, she wouldn't wear much else.
See, she started. She finished. All right, you come in too, Matt. You know the words. Prince song, Raspberry Beret.
Or a raspberry beret.
Hey, get
the
it.
kind you buy at the second-hand store.
Why the beret gotta be a second-hand? I just realized that line. Why it gotta be second-hand?
How many places do you know that actually sell berets?
You know
though?
what? I buy mine online, so you're right. I just realized there are not a lot of berets everywhere, although I did buy one for Rosie once for a gift exchange, and it was at Walmart, but it had like pearls in it. So it was like a fancy beret, but it's like, you're right, it's hard to find them some places unless you go to the black hair store. They always got a beret. Always.
By the way, you guys, Matt is our friend that we can always count on to join in with the spontaneous singing.
Yes. Especially if he knows and he's aware of it. He's down for I'm telling you, I once witnessed him do a whole number one time, and I'm like, you need to have your own show. Like, it was amazing. What was the song that you did that day? I know you were a little drunk that too.
Was it King and Queens by Eva Max?
Yes. If all of the
kings had their queens on the throne, we would pop champagne and raise our toast.
Yes.
Ooh, now I need to go and put that on my playlist. What's the song called?
Kings and Queens.
I've actually showed it to her before. She just don't be listening to the radio. I played that.
Oh, is
song
that a
for
newer
her.
song?
It's not new, actually. It's old now. Because it was
yeah.
last year when it came out. So it's old, but it's like these past few years.
Okay.
So, yeah, Ava Max.
Putting
She sings that
that
song
on
about
Oh,
she's sweet but a psycho, and I actually hate that song.
I actually like that song.
And
I know everyone does.
And I just added Unholy to my playlist when you told me about it, like last episode. Well, I don't know if it was on the episode. It might have been before we started
Sharing
recording.
music, y'all. Ava Max and the song Unholy with Sam Smith featuring some chick. I'm sorry, I don't know who she
Featuring
is.
some chick.
Anyway, let's get into Van Gogh. We get into the art. We've talked enough about other things. All right. So this film, as we mentioned at the top of the pod, is the first of its kind. Never before, and I've never seen again. Probably because it takes an inordinate amount of work.
And probably money too, because to pay
all
oil
the
painters.
artists, they had over 100 painters. And this film took 7 years to make because of it. Because of all the painting they had to do. And I wonder if they just had them perform at one point, and then the rest of the years, they had to just paint each frame. I mean, it's amazing what they did. Like, that was my main reason why I loved the film so much, because I was like, I've never seen anything like this. And I thought it was, like, artistically just so new and brilliant. And I was like, I've never seen a film done this way. And I loved it.
Beautiful.
It was beautiful. What was your first? Everybody, that's my first first impressions. We always do first impressions. So I was just in awe of the film. So what about you, Matt?
When I first started watching the movie, it was like a breath of fresh air, because movies these days, especially animated movies, they're all computer graphic.
Yeah.
And I mean some cartoons now are still doing like the hand-drawn animation, but
it's just different
to
now.
see a movie that was hand-painted,
Yeah.
I was just, again, it was like a breath of fresh air, because it was like, oh my gosh, a movie that's not computer graphic, a movie that's actually hand-painted,
right?
Painted by a person, not a computer. It was like, I was just
blown away.
Exactly,
right?
Like speechless.
Yes.
It
was mesmerizing.
It was. That's the
Looking
word.
at it,
That's a
Mesmerizing.
perfect word for it. Yeah,
Mesmerizing,
mesmerizing. Because I remember they were during some of the more slower paced parts, I'm just looking at different parts where the painting strokes are just going on in the background and just watching them
Yeah, the way that you're looking at I remember one of the scenes where I was really focusing on the movements around the person was in the end scene where Saoirse Ronan plays I think her name is Marguerite Gachet, right? Gachet?
Yeah, Gachet.
Gachet, the doctor's daughter. And then I was just focusing on her face. And I was like, I know Saoirse Ronan's face. But I was just focusing on the movements going on around her face and the swirls going around in her hair because she definitely had curls, but you could see like the blue movements of the sky and I just remember like I was listening, but I was looking at that. I was focusing on the movements or the way the rain came down as Arnaud was talking to the shopkeep girl. Like just watching that rain in the background, you're like, that's rain, but it's like just brushstrokes moving down. I just thought it was ingenious, and the way they move I'm not gonna lie, I was just mesmerized. I really would like to know how they got the movement. Like that was my main thing. Like how did they get this movement?
My guess is probably rotoscoping.
Oh, see, this is where Whitney comes in because I don't know what is that word. Please explain.
Rotoscoping is when they film someone in real life doing something, and then the artist goes back and just draws over top of the actual photograph or image. But in this case, they probably painted it, which is why it was important for them to get someone who looked close to. Because otherwise, rotoscoping, you don't have to, it's not about like copying it directly. It's more about getting like movements, angles. Because, if you try to work just from your head, you're not going to get like how things actually look and move as well. So rotoscoping is like to help with like that type of thing in animation. So, and usually it's not important for the person to look like them, maybe to have like the same kind of clothing on, so you can get like how the clothing moves and stuff like that, and how the person moves. But I feel like in this, they probably got people to like dress as the person so that they could paint it as they needed to.
What was your first impression?
I agree with you on the I feel like mesmerizing was the perfect word for it, because like just throughout, it was this is more of an ending thought than like a beginning one, because like the story was actually really captivating. But like throughout, it's just like one of those things, like even when they're talking, how most of the time you're focused on the speaker, but I'm kind of focused on like the background with like the paint strokes moving, and you're like, it's really cool, it's pretty, but it's just like it's one of those things. It's just so cool looking, and it's
we watched it first. Me and Matt watched it first a couple years ago, pre-pandemic, of course, and it was awesome seeing it imagine us watching on the TV, but when we watched it on the big screen, looking up, and, the Bird Theater screen is huge, and I was just like. And it was all that color swirling around you. It was amazing. I remember I was in love with that film as soon as we finished watching it. Not only that, because it's like my favorite painter, and then I did not know a lot of his story. That part was the amazing thing. Like you said, the story was great. I love how they presented it as how did he die?
Murder mystery,
yes,
type of thing.
What happened to him? Thing. I love the approach to the story, and then even finding out who made it, who started it, and like how she took a lot of Van Gogh's letters, because he wrote a lot of letters to his brothers, 600 letters, I believe, to his brother Theo, who was like his main supporter, financial supporter, and loving brother. And she got like so much, and I think he even drew on some of his letters. Is that right?
It did look like a lot of his letters had like little illustrations.
Yeah, because you brought the whole book.
Yeah, I know. I
take that with me. I'm about to borrow. Can I borrow? He bought receipts. He's like, I got me a big book. I'm an SME here, which means subject matter expert.
And I actually got that book at the Van Gogh immersive experience.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of, can you guys talk about that? Because I missed it. I was not, COVID was happening. I had like a cough thing. I wasn't feeling so hot, so I wasn't about to go around a whole bunch of people and stuff. So I ended up having to not go. I did get a voucher because they didn't do a refund, but they did give me a voucher, and unfortunately, I never got the chance to.
Well, actually, it's still going on. The exhibit is still.
Oh, the voucher had like an expiration. It's gone,
dang,
so that's just money gone.
Oh.
I know.
It was kind of pricey, but I don't know if you can go to it in DC like we had done. Yeah. So you'd probably have to travel some other city now to see, because I don't know where it is.
Well, I'm going to double check, but I think it's still in DC.
Really?
Because of popular,
same place?
because of popular demand, they extended they extended it. I think
because when we went, they were like, "Oh, Frida Kahlo is coming next." Like they're just going away.
I think
that sounds like it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
a Frida Kahlo one would be cool.
Yeah, I think that one. I think Van Gogh is going to end right before Kahlo and Rivera. I think it's going to end right when that exhibit begins, but because of popular demand, they just kept extending. Extending the exhibit. So
yes, honestly, watching this film so many years ago, also made me even more interested in going to the Van Gogh immersive experience, which you guys, I blurted out about that like sometime, I believe it was last year, even around Christmas time. December is when we went, right?
I think so.
Yeah, we went in December. So I definitely blurred out about that last year. I'm going to try and make my, I have a highlight on my Instagram that you guys can see all the video footage and things we took and pictures and things. I'm going to try and make it a reel and post it on our podcast Instagram, y'all. So just put your hands out for me. You know what I mean?
And I'll definitely double check when the Van Gogh immersion experience will end, because I know they extended it and they kept extending it. So I'll definitely double check when the official last day.
Okay.
But the immersive experience was eye-opening. It was also mesmerizing because of that big installation room where it's like surrounding you in the art, where the floor, it's like all the walls in that room were art, and the lights and everything. It was the music, sound, everything came together in one little place. And it was like you were surrounded. It's an immersive experience, and you really were immersed in his art. But in the beginning part, it was basically like an exhibit, and you got to see different paintings. Like they had what I liked the most is like they had like lines from his writings and things he said all over the place. And despite Van Gogh's real life, he was a very troubled man. A lot of the geniuses were and stuff, and so he had a lot of problems. People called him the madman, but he was also so brilliant at what he did. And he had a lot of passion in him that I feel like because of his troubles and because of the things and not being recognized, it's like he didn't know how else to express it. And he didn't really need it. He was expressing it in his art, but it's like the validation wasn't there for him. And I felt that so like badly. I felt badly for him at the end of the whole thing, because I was like, man, you were brilliant. You were a genius. I was talking about that scene from Doctor Who that I loved watching that.
Yeah.
Like different things in life I've seen like made me come to the point where I'm like, I have to go to this immersive experience. So it was the play, it was watching it at the Boy Meets World episode, it was watching the Doctor Who episode, it was looking at things, it was watching this movie, Loving Vincent, and then going to the immersive experience. And it's so interesting watching it in hindsight of the immersive experience, because we learned way more than I even knew about him. Even more than I knew from the film. Like, they just went deep into his life and what happened to him and things. We learned so much stuff about him. He had such amazing quotes. As much as he was troubled, he had such nuggets of wisdom. And it was brilliant. I loved it. I'm so mad that you didn't get to go, Whitney. I wish you could just go and see that thing. It was amazing. It takes some time. It takes a couple hours to get through it, too. Because I think it's like a 30-minute just sitting in that room. Yeah. And that's just part 2 of the immersive experience. And then the gift shop, which is the worst part, because it was just so, I'm sorry. Yes, you want some gifts, but it was stupid expensive.
Yeah,
you're just like, why is this little cheaply made ring $12? Why? I don't understand. So
I forgot where I purchased my book, but I probably could have gotten it cheaper on Amazon.
Right? My sister even told me when I came back, she's like, Bola, this is not even worth. She's like, this is going to break on you. And I'm like, leave me alone. I wanted a souvenir. And it did break. Yeah. It broke so soon. I only wore it a couple of times, and I just have the little thing now. It looks like a little button. And I can't even, she's like, you don't even need to glue this, because my sister makes jewelry. She's like, I'm not even going to glue this, because the thing they had was so weak. Wow. It was not even like regular. It looked like a little, oh, God. I was so mad that I spent $12 on it. But I wanted something, and I bought a glasses cleaner with his almond blossom painting on it. That, it was like the wipes for your glasses. That's intact still. But the immersive experience showed a lot about his life. I didn't know about his stay in the institution. I didn't know about his troubles and schizophrenia and depression, all that stuff. I didn't know about the details of. We just said that we didn't know that he went and he enjoyed Japanese art, and that he actually painted some things from Japan. They had like a whole little section of his like Japanese, like, I don't want to say infatuation, but it was like a little Japanese phase. You know what I mean? And so I didn't even know, like, there were so many more paintings he had done. And I was getting schooled during that experience. So both of them, the film and the experience, really helped like paint fuller picture of this man, and I really appreciated it. Mm-hmm. What about you guys?
Matt?
Oh yeah, because you went to the Twins, not Whitney.
oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, just everything from watching Loving Vincent to going to the immersive experience, and even watching the movie again. It's like, you know, that question that people ask you if you were to have a conversation with somebody living or dead, who would it be? I think my one answer would be Van Gogh, because it's like,
that's a good one.
It's like, it's like, dude, or sir, it's like, you know, do you realize
How
what an
brilliant
impact,
you were. Yeah.
and what an amazing impact you had on people?
Yeah.
Like I wherever you are now, I hope you can see that, or even sense.
Right.
It was so sad because he was considered in his lifetime a failure.
Yeah.
And he had so much issues of trying to fit in. I remember learning that he tried to be a clergyman from the beginning, and that didn't work. And then he was working as a missionary, and they showed it they talked about it too in the movie about how he tried so many things and none of it stuck. And then he started painting, which was weird. He started painting later in life. He didn't pick it up from the beginning. It was later in, like, in his 20s.
Yeah, I think they said like 28 or something. Yeah.
That's crazy. And then he painted for that many things in just a few years, because he died like in his 30s. So he didn't live that long after he started painting. So for him to make 800 pieces, that's
I think
crazy.
they said like 7 or 8 years.
8 years, yeah.
And it was really sad to me. I think we're outside of the Van Gogh experience now, but going back into the movie, when they talked about, or the daughter of the doctor was talking about how he was always trying to like live up to something, and then showing like the flashback when he's a little boy, and how there was he was like the oldest, but there was another Vincent who was born, but he died, I guess, like maybe stillborn or something. And
that's terrible. You should not do that to your child. I think that was also in Hamilton, that Alexander had named his first son had died because he did a duel stupidly. I don't know if you guys, I know you have. Have you seen Hamilton?
Yeah, I've seen Hamilton.
Yeah, so you know how the first son died? His name was Philip Hamilton, and they had another one that died after Alexander died, and I think they named him Philip as well. And I'm just like, why did y'all do that? Like, he's gonna forever be like, oh, my other brother Philip. But anyway, that's just one little gripe that I'm like, give your other child another name. You know what I mean?
It was sad. Like, we don't know like whether this happened exactly like that, but like the scene where he, like, the mother is out there at the grave of the first child, and then he like holds her hand and she kind of like snatches it to pray, and I'm like, this is so. And then when he comes home after like failing as like the clergyman and the missionary, and you see his dad look back at the door when he opens it, and then just look back, like you can just see the disappointment. It was just
it seemed like he didn't get enough validation as a child, which definitely goes into adulthood. And
that was the sad thing to me from this movie, which it was so well done, is that I feel like even if he hadn't, like, well, we know he didn't get the validation as an artist because he only sold the one painting, but I felt like I guess that played into it, because if he had sold more paintings, he would have had more money and he felt less like a burden to his brother. Because watching the movie, it seemed like they were saying, or kind of seemed to be saying, that like he felt like he was being a burden to his brother, and you knew how much he loved his brother, and he didn't want him to suffer trying to support his life as a painter. And that might have played into why he killed himself. But it was just really sad. And it just, like y'all said, it seemed like he felt things very, very deeply. And I think because of that empathy, that he just, like, once the doctor pointed out, and he was like, I'm making my brother's life so difficult because he's supporting me. Because I wonder, like, through the movie, I'm like, so how is he, like, affording these art supplies? How is he supporting himself?
If he only sold one painting for those years, how was he paying for his room?
And that's what I wonder. And then they were like, oh, his brother was, like, bankrolling. And I'm like, okay, that explains. Because I'm like, how is he affording all this stuff? Art supplies are expensive. At least they are now. I doubt that changed much then.
During that time and everything. And then it's interesting because I like how they have all the different takes from different people that he actually painted. that knew him, and it's like some people did consider him to be the man. I remember the one lady considered him to be the devil or whatever, the evil person.
Yeah, the
She just kept
housekeeper.
saying, all this negative stuff, and then the other girl, the shopkeep, was like, no, he was normal, and then
He was kind and polite.
The other girl was like, he was a genius, you know, and then the doctor's like, he was troubled, you know, and he was an artist, but he was troubled. And so it's like so many paintings, so many different people had an idea version of him. And it was like, what's the real one? We don't know. He could be all of them. I mean, you cut off your ear and you give it to a whore, you know. Yeah. That is kind of creepy. I'm not going to lie. That's some of the stuff where I'm just like... And then
probably having an episode then.
He had like a cutting... I think he cut his ear right after he had this fight with the one friend he was staying with. Remember, he had like a French living friend. They didn't talk about it much in the film, but in the experience, he had a friend that lived with him. They talked about it a little bit in the beginning of the film. And that guy,
was that Gogh? Paul Gogh?
Oh, yeah.
He had that guy stay with him, and they constantly were at odds. Like the experience showed us and told us how they were constantly fighting. It's because Vincent had so many like mood swings, issues, and then he started having hallucinations, delirium, like, you know, unwanted thoughts, all these things, and he would just be so erratic at times. You know, didn't help that he drank a lot. You know, drank like a fish, smoked like a chimney, that kind of stuff. And then he wasn't eating well. He didn't take care of himself that well either. That was other things that we learned in the experience, and also we could be in like biographies and stuff. But it was like he just didn't take care of himself that much, and it could be because he was struggling. But the one thing he was able to do well, and he constantly did and practiced, was his art. And I mean,
and that was interesting because the shop girl was talking about. She was like, you could set your watch according to Vincent, like consistently,
right?
And I feel like that. And it's funny because I've mentioned, I feel like I've mentioned this before, but this, I guess you would call him an influencer, and now his name is escaping me, but he said that basically there's no such thing as writer's block. And he's like, there's only a lack of good writing. He was like basically saying that you have to keep putting stuff out there, and that's where the good stuff comes from. Yeah. It's like you can't predict what's going to actually be really good. You have to just keep making stuff. And I feel like that's part of like what someone like Vincent van Gogh is, why he's so amazing, because you get better as you do stuff. Like trying to theorize about how to make something better is very rarely going to work out with the like execution being like there's a gap between what you imagine it's going to be and what it actually comes out to. But if you keep doing it, you'll make small tweaks each time. So by doing, you'll become better. And I feel like because he put like 800 freaking paintings, like you can't help but be really good, even if you don't start out that way.
And I think he loved what he did. Like he loved it. Actually, I feel like if anything, if his life lacked love and peace within his mind, he at least poured out the love he had for art, life, things into his paintings. And I wanted to show you guys this quote from his last known work. And I'm not gonna lie, you could tell by the distortion in his last known work that where his mind was, because it was right after his like stay at the asylum and things, and they thought, again, once he left the asylum, they thought he was getting better, and then he died like 6 weeks later. So you could tell that he had just gone down. Maybe he had just given up or something. But his last known work was, I don't know if it has a name. It's called Tree Roots. And it's like the lines and stuff don't look as crisp. Kind of looks kind of weird and stuff. But at the experience, the immersive experience, underneath it, they put a quote that I was like, this was the best quote ever. And it says, this comes from Vincent himself. It says, "It is good to love many things, for therein lies the true strength. And whosoever loves much, performs much, and can accomplish much. And what is done in love is well done." It's like he had all these nuggets of wisdom.
That is
and
great.
They painted it all over the walls in the experience. I was like, the guy was deep, like very, very deep. Had much to say. I was like, man, he should have written some books or something. Yeah. But that's what I was saying. It was so sad to know that these things were bothering him. These mental health problems were, this lack of validation, this lack of self-worth and love for himself, I think, was what really got him in the end. And
I feel like the validation, I think the validation was more from a monetary standpoint, and not because he just like, ooh, I want money. I think because he just didn't want to be a burden to his brother by needing his money in order to continue. Because I feel like watching the film, when they showed that fight between him and the doctor, and he's like, "You're an artistic fraud." I feel like Vincent knew he was good, which is how he could make that type of judgment on someone else. So I feel like he knew he was good, even if he wasn't successful like monetarily by selling paintings. But I feel like because he didn't sell, it wasn't a money thing, but it was just like, I want to be able to support myself so that I'm not a burden to my loved ones, is what I got.
Right. What about you, Matt? What are you gonna say?
I agree with you, Whitney, because in the movie, when Vincent found out that his brother was dying of syphilis and any kind of stress would have killed him, I think he realized, oh my God, I've been a burden to my brother, and then, you know, I've been a burden to this doctor, and you know, it
was sad.
Yeah, it was.
It was super sad because I was realizing that now, and I'm like, man, that could put him over, because you could tell by the amount of letters he wrote. It said in the biography thing here where he only wrote like, I don't know if he wrote to his parents at all, but he might have. But he wrote like, maybe he had 2 sisters also. He only wrote like 22 letters to his sisters, but to write 600 letters to just one, and his brother like only wrote 40.
Wow.
His brother loved him, but his brother only wrote 40. Wow. He wrote 600 letters to his brother. So I feel like he loved his brother so much. That, and of course, because his brother was helping him and everything.
And his brother believed in him. I feel like, you know, because it's one thing, like, you can love people, but the people who believe in you, you're going to probably have a stronger connection to. So he may have loved his parents, loved his sisters, but you saw from the movie, it looked like his parents, like you said, didn't like really give him the emotional support. And it seemed like, so maybe the brother was like the main one where he got that emotional support, where he's like, I believe in you. I mean, not only do I love you, but I believe in you as well.
Yeah. And then it shows too, because the brother died soon after him.
Yeah.
That was what shocked me. I was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And I mean, we found out later that he had syphilis, but I'm sure that emotional trauma was probably what finished him off, because we saw from the movie that they really loved each other. They were close. So that probably just that wound probably was this like the finishing touch when he was already sick. Like losing his brother probably was too much.
I want to talk about how they utilized his paintings, and like the story, just a little bit of the story, I guess, because they utilized all his paintings to put the characters into the story. So it was like Armand was a policeman, and he ended up being a policeman, as we saw in the end. He ended up being a policeman the rest of his life, going into a different profession from his father, who was the postman with the big beard. But I just thought it was amazing how they used the people's, like, just as little nuggets of information, and created the story of like going through and talking to, like, getting eyewitness accounts as this mystery. I mean, I just thought it was brilliant. I mean, what do you guys think about it? Because I just was blown away by that. I was like, how ingenious is it to take his paintings and you use the people and the characters and then just make this fictional. They were based on true events, really, but it's still like a fictional, like, retelling or recount of some of the things, you know.
It was going to be a beautiful movie either way,
right?
But it was very compelling because of the storyline, and it was like, because it had this almost like murder mystery type of feel, it kept you engrossed because you like, was he killed? Because then you started to doubt, just like when Armand was like, he was like, did somebody actually kill him? And then by the end, you're like, okay, yeah, no, he killed himself.
He took Remy's gun so he could kill himself. So I was like, dang. But it was like everyone wanted to know. Did people know everything? No, you know. And then I liked the whole thing with the letters at the end, going back and forth, where they were like, you know, here, read some of his real words. You know, this is what he was saying. And it was like, I like Armand's journey as well in the story, because it was like he was discovering Vincent. And I like that they named the movie Loving Vincent. It's almost like it has a double meaning. It was like, this film made you love Vincent van Gogh more, but it was just also like his little sign off on his letters. It was like, with a handshake, you're loving Vincent. You know, I just thought that was amazing. I just thought it was a nice touch.
It really was.
The song at the end. What about the song? You were saying something.
Oh
about
my
the song at
God,
the
I
end.
loved it.
They made a song called Starry Night. I need to find out who sang the song.
I had it because I had like it was like not Shazam, but like Google does a thing where it always passively listens for songs just in case you want to go back and like, what was that song that was playing in the store?
I think it's an actual song. Like the actual song is called Starry, Starry Night.
You're right.
But for the movie, before Loving Vincent, they did change the lyrics around to make it
More about him
and
Leanne
more related
LaHavas?
to the movie.
It seemed like a love letter to him.
Yeah.
It seemed like an encouraging letter to him. You know what I mean? And like going back to that Doctor Who episode where it was like they went back in time, and then I love the part where they showed Vincent. They got him before he killed himself, but they kind of showed him the present where it was like, look at where your paintings are. Like, you might have thought you were nothing, but you're really something.
And then they had the museum curator be like, what do you think of Vincent van Gogh? And he was like, I think he's one of the greatest painters ever. And you see like Van Gogh crying. And then it was sad because then what was it? It wasn't Rose. Was it Rose?
Maybe.
Okay, so maybe it was Rose, the original companion, but she like rushes back into the gallery to see, it's like, oh, there's going to be so many more paintings because we showed him the future about how influential it is, and it's like it's the same amount, and the doctor's like, you know, even with knowing that, you know, he had a lot of pain.
Yeah, and it was, again, he really battled some demons, like, and I feel like that's what really, like, that mental battle he was having, and it was just, I was telling my family earlier, I was like, you know, even people who have much faith and all that kind of stuff, when it comes to these mental health issues and things, they could be, it's not, you can't just say, oh, it's weakness or something like that. I remember even Armand made the I would say an error in saying that. He's like, oh, this kind of person is weak. And that's what people thought in that time period about people with mental health issues, that they consider them feeble and stuff, but it's just really a struggle. And it could be, you know, some people have so much brilliance that these other parts of their brain don't work well, or, you know, you just never know what really causes like these mental health issues, what traumas. We don't know all that back stuff.
Sometimes like chemical imbalances, like things you can't
explain,
can't
all
help,
the way, you know,
or can't be helped, but like not like with the medicine of that period.
And you know, like a lot of times they might have done some crazy stuff to try and treat him. I don't know what the treatments were that they used for him. I think they did some like shock therapy and stuff for him, but it was hard to see that he was saying in his letter that I'm about to say email, y'all. He was saying that's how much we don't write letters.
Yes.
We really should go back to writing letters. But he was saying in his letter that that he was calm and sane in that, like, but then 6 weeks later he died. You know what I mean? He killed himself. So it was like the whole catalyst. Like, how does somebody who's calm and sane kill himself 6 weeks later? You know, end up dead. You know, and it's just like. Again, like the doctor was telling him at the final like scene, like hey, they called it melancholia, but now I think we would diagnose it as, you know, depression or manic or bipolar disorder, whichever one of them. I would say he probably had schizophrenia because of the hallucinations and stuff. But he could have a manic episode or a depressive episode within hours. You know, you could just, their moods change so drastically. And so that was the thing. It could have been like, oh yeah, he had a nice moment then, and then it just went downhill. And like you said, that thing about his brother, him realizing he was a burden and just feeling like he had no one there to be like, no, you need to stay in the world and finish this and do this. You know, that could have just been like, that was his point where he's like, I don't need to be here anymore. And you would think, like, we've heard about many people who've done great things killing themselves. You're just like, why would you, of all people, do this?
Right.
But when it comes to mental battles, you
don't know what's going
it's not
on
always easy
in someone's life or in their head.
And you have a lot of, I feel like a lot of times you hear this about artists. There's always like some issue. That's what one of my friends who's more right-brained. She's like, yeah, practical. Like a lot of artists, she like made this comment of like a lot of artists have that problem. I'm like, nah, not all of them, but it's like it is typical, they would say. But I don't think all of them have that kind of problem. But I don't know what it is if you're like high artistic intelligence or genius level, and then sometimes you have these other issues. I don't know what that means. But it was just sad to see that his life had ended that way. And I was like, man, if only he knew how amazing he was, how awesome he was. I just wish he could see this film too. That like centuries later, people are celebrating him and his work and his life and his words. And
but you never know, because like it still makes me think of the Doctor Who episode. It makes me think like,
you need to watch that, Matt.
I know, I need to.
But
I'm
gonna try to find the clip at least.
Yes.
Like, even though that was fictional, it's like you wonder, like, would that still have made a difference? Because to know that you had an impact in the future, that doesn't have an impact on your present, and how much you're like still financially draining your brother without meaning to, feeling like you're a burden, because it's like, oh yeah, maybe in the future I'm like this revered artist, but I'm not making any money now. I'm still relying on my brother now, and he's got a family that he also needs to try to support. So even knowing that, I mean, maybe it would help. Maybe it would make it worse. Like, oh, all of this, and like I'm still can't manage to. So you never know, like what impact something could have, if it would help or not.
Doctor, just in the film version, that he used like those words, because it was a truth in his mind. And then he felt guilty because he was like, I pushed him to do this. I felt so bad for the Doctor too. Jerome Flynn did a great job playing the Doctor. And I felt like, yeah, I would feel guilty in my life too.
I would feel guilty as well.
The person killed themselves.
But like what he said about what Vincent said, I think he was trying to tell him like, don't blame yourself. And I think it makes me think like it's one of those things where it's like, maybe he thought to himself, I might have ended up either way in this situation. Right. So like, don't blame yourself. This wasn't your fault.
Yeah,
like
he said he wanted to die. And I remember I've heard that about somebody. I had a friend who had taken someone with her somewhere, and the person ended up dying overseas and stuff. And it was hard to deal with because you're just like, what? But when she explained the story, finally, it was like he wasn't taking his medicine. He wasn't listening. He didn't want to come back home. And it was like he wanted to die. Like, it was sad, but he already had mental health issues and all that kind of stuff. But it was like the way he was behaving and acting, it was like nothing she could do. She was trying to be on top of him. But it was like, she would give him the medicine, he would spit it out. He was not doing, you know what I mean? He wasn't helping himself. And it was like, and at the end, she talked to the boy's mom, and he was like, it's okay. He wanted to go. Like, she had to like assuage her that way, And I felt so bad for that, but it was like, it was like you can do so much, but when they don't have the will to live anymore, it's like you can't blame yourself, really, And so that's the sad part. But I still feel like this film was like a celebration of his life and his work. His work is amazing.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
and so diverse. Like, I mean, the amount of different scenes and things that I have learned about just this past year going to the experience and looking at this film, I couldn't believe all of it was paintings. Like, looking back at it now, I did not even recognize it when we first watched the film. And looking back now after going, I was like, these are all his paintings. Like, they're not just imagined scenes, So I just was like, even now looking through his Wikipedia page, looking up stuff while we were watching, and I was seeing even more of his work that I have not seen. Like, his stuff is sold for millions of dollars. Millions. Remember the chart they had in the immersive experience where it shows like all the money that goes to his stuff, all the private collections that have his stuff. It's amazing. That man will be rich now if he had a family and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but any other things you want to say about the film or about Van Gogh in general?
No, I think that's it for me.
Nothing, Maddie? Nothing, you guys?
I think
all right. Are we ready for the rating then?
Sure.
So.
All right. So, Maddie, we're going to let you go first as our guest. We do our rating in glasses. And then if you have half a point, you can do a monocle for that half point. And if you have a quarter of a point, you can do a contact lens. So it's glasses, monocle, contact lens. So without further ado, what's your rating?
Glasses.
No, like how many?
Out of 10 glasses. 10 glasses is the highest amount. 10 glasses is the highest. So like how many glasses? But if you're doing like, for example, if you were doing 8.5, it would be 8 glasses and a monocle.
There we go.
I would say 20 glasses.
Oh, wow. Dang. Okay.
All right.
All right, what about you, Whitney?
20.
I'm also I'm going to keep it within the confines, but I'm going to give it 10 glasses because it was beautiful, and that enough is for a high score. But if you just have a pretty movie and a stank storyline, then I can't be given too high of a score. But this was a really compelling storyline. So I'm going to give it 10 glasses.
I'm glad to see that because I was just like, I really was like, okay, do I really want to go by just the story? Or the artistry of this film alone, to me, warrants the 10 glasses score. Because I'm like, this kind of feat has never been done, and I've never seen it done this well in this way. And like you said, the whole film just pulls you in, and it mesmerizes you, and it makes you love Vincent, as the title, Loving Vincent. So I definitely want to give it 10 glasses.
Woo! So an average of 10 glasses,
now,
peeps.
I would say this. For the artistry alone, I give it a 10. Now, if you're just watching like a regular film, because it does have some slow points, you have to just really be interested. So some people who don't like art or don't like Van Gogh or don't care, they might not see it as this is not deserving of 10. But I just like it so much, so I'm giving it a 10. You know? Any other points? Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, y'all. So that has been our review of Loving Vincent. You guys check it out. It was on Hulu for a while, but it's not. It's no longer. So you will have to purchase
nowhere
it.
For free. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay to rent it.
Yeah, you guys have to pay to rent it. And Maddie, thanks for coming and joining us today.
Thank you. This was awesome.
I'd like to
Thank
point out that
you.
Maddie listens to our show, and I love that. And so I was like, Matt, you have to come and do an episode. So I wanted to do an art episode with you, and I really wanted Whitney to see this film because I thought it was amazing.
It was, yes.
So yeah, thanks, Maddie, for joining
Thanks,
me. An awesome guest.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So we will see you next month. Is what? Christmas time.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll see you in the Christmas months. You don't know what we're gonna be doing, but you'll hear about it. All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
All right.
Triple F Queen out. Blerd out.
Blerd out.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Please subscribe to our show on whatever podcast listening app you use and share the show with other Blerds and non-Blerd family and friends. And if you like our episode, please rate and review us on iTunes.
The intro and outro music is Twilight by Caption. You can find them on SoundCloud, username Caption, spelled CAPSHUN. The show notes are by Bola, Hanson, and the audio engineering is by Whitney Booker.
And you can contact us by email at blerdtalkbw@gmail.com. And also, don't forget to get social, you guys. You can find us on our social media at Instagram and Twitter, with our @handle being at BlerdTalkBW. And we've got our individual things going on too, y'all. So you can find me, your Blerd Fashionista, on Instagram and Twitter at BolaStoryB. That's B with 2 E's like the insect. And I've got my own personal YouTube channel, just Bola Sade. That's BOLASHADE. D as in dog, E as in elephant.
And this is Whitney. You can find me at my company, Luminavi Studios. The email address is wit@luminavi.com. That's WHIT@LUMENAVI.com. You can also find me on Twitter at Luminavi Studios.